As a human being, how do I feel about AI? Anytime there's a change, it's scary, at least for me. And this seems to be a big change for humankind, I think, allowing computers to do our thinking. We've done a certain amount of that up to this point, but it just seems yeah, it's strange because a lot of my friends are a lot more upset than I am about it. And their thing is, why are we letting, computers are a good thing, machines are, we build them for a reason, but why are we letting them do the things that we really want to do when they should be doing the things that we don't want to do, which is like, math and laundry. I guess we're already doing those things, but yeah, automated, machinery should be used for things that are dull instead of things that are exciting, like creating art and personal. That being said, I guess some people feel like they're creating personal stuff via AI. I don't really know. I haven't explored it. As an artist, again, I feel threatened, because I think, as I said elsewhere, I think the AI is proven to be a much better draftsman than I am. Um, it has a better sense of color. It has a better sense of perspective. It doesn't have a better sense of anatomy. Um, uh, and I'm not great at anatomy, so I'm really up. I'm really winning as far as that's concerned. So yeah, it is threatening, but as I also said, I think if I think about it intellectually, I can't really see it replacing human human thought in a way that we're all so threatened that it will. It may eventually, but I think that's only going to happen as we allow it to. I think this is all happening because, in a sense, this is what we want to see happen. If we didn't want to see it happen, it wouldn't be happening. But I think there's a certain amount of, the less, the more responsibility you give over to something else, the more at ease you tend to feel because, oh, at least I'm not responsible for that. So as the machines take over, um, I think there's a certain amount of pressure taken off. But it's that pressure that also makes us human and grow, and so it's a concern. And the only thing I do know, one thing, you know, I'll have to get to the personal in a second because the first thing that comes to my mind is people. I know people in advertising are using this or have been using this for a while, or I know they're using it already. And they have a photo and they realize there's three burgers in it and they only want two. And so they can tell AI, I guess Photoshop has a feature now where you just tell it, no, we only want two burgers, and it instantly takes out the third burger. That's cool. That doesn't really apply to me. The only things I can think that apply to me are the things that I don't feel like I'm good at. And, I'm not great at perspective for whatever reason. Some people think I am, but I'm not. I don't feel like I am. And I wouldn't actually want to use it for that. I wouldn't want to use it for perspective because if my perspective is messed up, then it's personal. It's a very personal thing. That's a representation of my thought processes, even if they're misfiring. So for me, it's always about what's something that's personal about my work in general, all work that I like. I might use it for color because even beyond perspective, because color's completely out of my range. The perspective is still a drawing thing, and I feel like I draw relatively okay. But in terms of color, I've never felt comfortable with color. I have worked in color a bit, and it's always made me uncomfortable. So I might turn it. I might turn. I don't even know how this would work, but if it were something, if there was a way that I could say to the computer, color that, and I would have an opportunity to tweak it and push it and make it into something that'd be okay. Um, I can't remember. I'm having a very strange experience since yesterday because I can't remember. I think as I was going to sleep, I was scrolling Instagram last night, and I came across some AI animation that was sort of like what I'd been thinking that all computer art needs to do, which is to go, okay, so it does representational stuff relatively well, but we need to push it. We need to push it towards Picasso. What's that? And I saw this like Picasso-esque animation, and I don't remember if I dreamed it because it was so late at night, and I was just kind of scrolling and zoning out, or if it's actually there. Would I dream scrolling on Instagram? I don't know, but but it looked great, and I thought because it looked purposeful. It used the terrible aspects of AI to its advantage because we know AI animation things kind of morph and disappear and stuff like that, and that's not good for generally what animators do, which is to represent life. But this was better. This was hyper life. This was dream life. Where limbs just disappear for a second and things are continuously morphing. I thought that was amazing. Maybe someone who's really brilliant can do that. I don't know. I think we're all going to be fed. I think eventually we're all just going to be fed into a computer, and we won't exist at all. We won't exist physically. We'll only exist as information if we don't already.
Forget about AI and try to identify the bottlenecks in your professional workflow. Let's say working with a director, or in any way.
As far as the bottlenecks, I just can't really think of anything. If the computer wants to deal with executives, that's fine with me because I don't. If I could just have a program that gets me the best deal and gets me a raise, gets me more money, says, yes, he's working, he'll be done latest Friday evening, whatever it is, that'd be fine for me. Because those are the most difficult things for me in terms of workflow. I'm notoriously, I'm not good at meetings. I don't, I'm not good at them. Because I think the thing that I'm good at is drawing. And if I'm not drawing, I'm not effective. So yeah, I can't really think of anything creatively where I would say that would be. Maybe I'm not thinking. Maybe I would need more time. I don't know, but I can't really think of anything where I would think I would need it. Um,
You've written that AI is coming, something like that. I just paraphrase some.
yeah.
AI is coming. An artist has to be very quick coming up with original ideas.
Uh, that's the way you come up with ideas on the fly is you have to trust yourself. That's the only way that I can think of that actually works. You have an innate belief in yourself. I always feel like part of uh, what I'm good at in relating to people in new situations or in front of classrooms is I have a sense of improvisation. There's something, every room has a different energy, every situation has a different energy, and you're a part of that energy. So you just go with it, you just use it. You have to, and because you're the artist, or you're running a meeting or whatever it is, you're trying to form it, but still, it's a sense of improvisation. This is what I'm given. This is what I can make out of it. So I think that's for me always what works. You stick with. You're given a situation. You have this data bank of all the creativity that you've ever experienced in your life. You take the situation, you run it through the data bank, and then you trust yourself to say, something. And, 9 times out of 10, I think it's going to be really stupid. But the 10th time could be pay dirt. And so you go with that. And anybody that's been in a meeting and having to pitch and to do it for very long, that some of the time it's not even having pay dirt. Some of the time it's just about being in the room. Some of the time it's just saying, like, I'm with you, I'm trying to help, I have terrible ideas, I can't really contribute. Other than that, I'm just gonna keep feeding you. I'm just gonna keep moving. I'm gonna keep the meeting moving. I'm gonna keep the class moving. That's also, I think that was my that's what I was good at when I worked on Ren and Stimpy. I don't think I ever really came up with any useful ideas, but I was good at listening. I was good at saying stuff, and I was good at recognizing what was good. And that was my basic. That was one of the better functions that I served there. So yeah, it's just about trusting yourself and just keep just there's no bad ideas. There's just ideas. You just keep throwing things out and trying to be in the moment and in the room. That's kind of how it feels to me.
What you've described seems like it's it's a thought process that cannot be replicated by AI, because AI just basically replicates something that already exists, right? So it goes into a database, its own data bank, and it brings back something, right? And
Yeah.
then you respond to it. So one of the guys that I was having an interview with basically said, like, text to image is a thought process that's never been imagined for creating art or even teaching art.
Mhm.
It's not natural. It's not the way we think, right?
Yeah.
So doesn't it give you a little bit of confidence that in the meetings people actually choose real human communication relationship, even though you say that you don't do meetings well, that if you're able, and you just said that you're sort of able to improvise very very fast on the fly,
Yeah.
um that's hard to beat, isn't it?
I would think, yeah, and that's what gives me confidence that our business, the animation business, won't change significantly, massively in the next 10 to 20 years. I think it's going to change because I think the computers are going to evolve. I don't know what the computers are going to be capable of someday. I hope to live to find out, I think, but I don't know what they're going to do. But yeah, there's always going to that's why I think it's going to be used as a tool. Mostly, I think we're all going to turn into art directors essentially. I think we're all going to be given the tool, the AI tool, and we're going to, yeah, type things in instead of like sketch on little pads, and see what comes out and then try and form it. Yeah, I mean, I'm intellectually confident that we'll be okay. I don't know economically how things are going to change in the next 10 to 5 years, but yeah, but overall, overall, I'm confident that we'll thrive, but I also think yeah, it's different, and so it's scary.
It was your choice. Instead of writing something, you decided to submit a comics. So
Right.
that's never happened before. I mean, that's very original, and I have to say, I wonder how you were thinking about it.
I did a comic because um, to me, comics is writing too, and it's a form of writing that I'm more comfortable with. Um, I can write, I can write okay, but I don't think I write. When I read what I've written, especially for business purposes or for educational purposes, I feel like my writing never comes up to what I really want to say. Now I can get to that when I'm in person, or I can get to that when I draw. But for me to have to, I don't intellectualize fantastically in writing, and so I felt like the best way to convey what I was thinking and feeling, and to convey a certain amount of my personality, because I do originally come from comics. I'm originally a comic book artist rather than an animator. I still call myself a cartoonist rather than an animator because technically I don't know how to animate. I only know the animation business. And so I did comics because it felt comfortable to me. I thought it'd be entertaining and engaging, and I thought that was a good way to do it. As far as what I wrote, yeah, I did describe myself as being negative and pessimistic, but that's also a certain amount of joking and self-deprecation. But I do switch myself off at the end. I think my intention was not so much that I switch myself off, but the computer switches me off. So it was kind of a final joke in that, by the end of it, I'm sort of saying like, hey, it might be okay. Things are really going to be okay. I don't think they're going to change too much. And then the computer switches off. So the computer has the final word essentially. And by the way, I'm not left-handed. I had to compose it so that it looked. I'm left-handed in the strip, but that's not actually what I am. I'm actually right-handed. I just thought I should point that out, just in complete transparency. But yeah, I was just going through everything that I think about artificial intelligence, and I just wrote it down, and I just turned it into a comic strip, and I gave myself 3 pages to do it, and I worked out the breakdown, and it worked out okay. When asked to do this, I was thinking like, well, what's? I mean, again, you go in your head, you find out what's there, you see how it connects to the task at hand, and you try and combine them. And I'm glad that I didn't um, just, you know, um, follow what was seemed to be required of me, which was to write an essay. Because I think I would have done a terrible job. I'm glad I associated it somehow with like, well, I can write comics. I can't really write, but I can write comics. So let me like form the two. And then you were open to it, which was great because if you weren't, then I would have been really screwed. But yeah, um, yeah, it's again, it's just a sense of play. I mean, and we know like so much of what we do, so much of creativity is associated with play, and so you have to be able to play around and find out oh, what's going to work for you. People married to AI and stuff, I have no idea. I don't know. I'm not. I'm not going to be here. Yeah, one day it just dawned on me that like in the 1800s, this next step um in visual art was photography, and essentially what it did was it spawned impressionism, which spawned every other you know um, modern art movement. And so it could be something fantastic. It could really push us to do something completely new and completely human, which would be great, which would be really great. And I do hope that I'm around in 100 years to see that. That would be nice.
You lived through the rise of 3D industry, 3D tools. A lot of 2D animators lost the job. How did that influence your career?
Yeah, I feel like I feel like I was always really fortunate. No one ever asked me. I mean, yeah, I only felt it was only last year the first time I felt like I don't know any 3D programs and I'm really behind and I'm just going to be. a dinosaur really, really soon, and I'd better learn 3D. And so I uploaded it, I downloaded a 3D app, and I completely ignored it. I didn't have any facility for it at all. I tried it, and I didn't know what I was doing. So, but I was. This is what gives me hope also for AI, in that, I was fortunate in that I have worked on 3D productions. I have worked on computer generated productions, and it was great because the riggers and the sculptors and all those dudes and the animators were more like, they wanted to know from me, what can we do to make this more human looking? And in that way, I felt really useful. Um, and I have a sense of what should be sculptural and what shouldn't be sculptural, what works and what doesn't. But I can't do it myself necessarily. But there were great people who were interested in finding out what I do and how they can translate it. So I thought it worked really well. But I was fortunate. I'd been around long enough, and I had enough. It was for people who know me and wanted me, and they didn't care that I couldn't sculpt in 3D. They just wanted to know that I would bring my personality to the production, and they had people who would translate what I did, and they did. They did great. They did really, really well. What's on television right now?
Pocoyo.
Is it good?
僕よ。
Yeah, it's good.
Mashirat Pocoyo?
Thumbs up.
He loves Pocoyo.
I got to see it.
You've seen it,
I have to. I've never seen it. No.
but you know the name?
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
It's 20-year-old TV show. I think it's originally from Spain.
Okay.
And it's very simplistic. The design is very cute, very simplistic. And I wanted him to start watching it because, first of all, it teaches kids to speak English, and also it's aesthetically, it's in its simplicity, in animation wise, design wise, and the rendering, all this stuff. It's very appealing, and I find it very unique that
Hmm.
it's appealing among all these preschool shows, because most of these preschool shows are
Okay.
hideous. They just don't look good.
I mean, I think the American aesthetic is pretty lowbrow and pretty often very ugly to me, personally. But I think part of that is because I think a lot of the American population gave up their responsibility to the television to figure out what kids liked, and sort of through this crazy capitalistic democratic process sort of came up with this idea of like, oh, they like this ugly shit, let's keep giving them that till it gets uglier and uglier. I think the only way that we grow aesthetically as a culture is by curating it, is by instructing and telling our young people and children to say, like, okay, you can watch this for a little bit, it's ugly, but I'll let you watch it for a little bit, but how about this, this is really good. And it's weird because kids actually, as much as they want to rebel, they will listen to you when when you say this is good. They're like, oh, I don't know what's good. Thanks for telling me. That's good information. I mean, I'm blessed because my brother, my oldest brother, he was my role model in terms of cartooning, because he couldn't draw, but he loved Popeye the Sailor, and he loved Bugs Bunny, and he loved Spider Man, and he loved Charlie Brown, and all these things were things that to this day influence the way I think and draw. I think that was really instrumental. I flip flop between hope and despair continuously, but I think for the most part, I land on the hope part because I'm okay. I mean, I'm still going, and when I stop going, that's when I'll despair. But until then, um, and if I despair, that means I just have to go again. So, and then I'll get hope. So it's always a little play between the two.